From that one feature verse where a rapper struck gold like never before, to others who simply were not able to replicate that same success in their own careers, and even some who sadly never got the chance. Today we're going to be breaking down rap's biggest one feature wonders. Now, you always hear talk about who is a quote one hit wonder and who's not. But yet, as we're about to see, for a few select artists, being remembered for just one feature verse is actually even worse.
You go off. Like, you put Wayne under pressure in 6'7".
Real quick though, first we need to define what a one feature wonder actually means, and set our criteria for this video. A one feature wonder strictly refers to a rapper who hopped on another artist's song as a feature, delivered a standout verse or chorus, the song blew up and became a major hit. However, afterwards once they were on their own though, they were never heard from again in the mainstream. Rappers who the world now only remembers through nostalgia, thanks to that one old feature before they disappeared.
Go by the name of Corey Guns from the Bronx, New York. Young Money, Cash Money, Militia Gang.
What makes this concept even crazier is that a feature verse is typically the moment where you take the spotlight and run with it. Like, for example, just look at Don Toliver. After totally stealing the spotlight from Travis Scott on Can't Say, Don Toliver has since been able to flip his Astroworld verse into a highly successful career. However, on the other hand though, other rappers such as Corey Guns have been forced to watch their one legendary feature become the only thing the world will ever know them for. When it comes to one feature wonders, Corey Guns might honestly be the perfect case study, because about 15 years ago, back in 2011, this man literally had the entire music industry convinced that he was up next. But even before he snapped on 6'7" next to, in my opinion, the greatest rapper of all time, Corey Guns had already been born with the background that every artist dreams of. As the son of this guy named Peter Guns, a semi-popular rapper of his own right in the late 90s, so combined with a lifetime of industry connections, Bronx rapper Corey Guns had been hyped up as a future star basically his entire life. Signing to Def Jam Records at just 14 years old, then named to the XXL Freshman list in 2009, but it wasn't until a year later though, in 2010, when Corey's career changed forever.
He went out of his way, man. When I was, shout out to Young Guru, I was signed over at Def Jam at 17. He went out his way, man, on his promo run, when he didn't have to, for no money, for nothing. Just, he pulled up, came and did a song with me and all of that, and just showed nothing but love, broke out, went back on his run, so.
Out of pure love, arguably the biggest star on the planet at the time, it didn't just link up with Corey Guns, but then even let him rap on the lead single for the Carter 4. I knew people were going to look at it like, I want to know what he's talking about on his first record, recalls Lil Wayne, referring to his first song, following time in prison, and I gave you that jewel at the end. It's like I'm forcing it on you, you got to hear this. It made everybody who didn't know Corey Guns say, who is that? And Lil Wayne was absolutely right. What remains still one of the most popular songs of his incredible career, 6'7" did indeed catapult Corey Guns onto the global stage. However, the question then remains, why have we never heard about Corey since? Well, despite this high-profile cosign and early hit, and despite even signing to Wayne's Young Money record label that same year, it turns out that the man who killed all of Corey's momentum was actually his own dad, but perhaps for the right reason. Just 2 years after 6'7" had released, rather than rolling out his highly anticipated debut album, Corey Guns was instead, ironically, hit with a gun charge.
Not blaming nobody else for that or pointing no fingers, but that kind of stunted a few things as well.
You go to charge.
Yeah. So
How did that happen?
Mm-hmm. Huh?
How did that happen?
I'd rather not elaborate on that.
He got caught with a firearm in the Bronx and was facing a 3 to 9 year sentence, his dad Peter said. We fought, and I kept Corey quiet. He didn't put out a lot of music, and we smoldered him. When you're making noise as a rapper and you're poppin', that's when they make an example out of you. So we either had to keep Corey hot, and he got his ass in jail, or we had to cool him off, and then try to get him hot again later. Thus, they decided on option 2. However, the very same moment when Corey Guns ducked into the shadows for all this to pass over, his momentum evaporated with it. Over the next 10 years, Corey Guns was able to land a few rare features here and there. However, despite the fact that Corey still releases new music consistently to this day, his solo mixtapes and songs have failed to make any sort of mainstream impact. To fans, Corey Guns will always be remembered as that dude who featured on 6'7" next to Lil Wayne. But yet, with that being said, the one thing that has never changed for Corey though, is his relationship with the CEO.
It's about Young Money, like what's the situation with Young Money right now? Are you still dealing with them?
Yeah, hell yeah. I'm signing Young Money.
Corner, and I would be remiss not to ask about Lil Wayne.
Yeah, it's my big brother.
What's the relationship like with him?
That's my big brother. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's my brother, nigga. That's my big brother. So it's like, he's my CEO, and there's that respect there, but at the same time, there's like, yo, what's up? Like, what you got going on? What you doing? What you da-da-da?
Depending on how you want to look at it as an artist, I guess being a one-feature wonder may not be the worst fate in the entire world. I mean, first of all, not everybody wants to deal with what follows being a global star. And not to mention too that, at least 99% of the time, if you're a one-feature wonder, you obviously still get paid for your feature. Well, not in every case though, like Travis Scott, who we'll see in a second. However, if you ask Peter Gunz why his son didn't blow up like we expected him to, Papa Peter instead has a different excuse.
Corey's such a phenomenal rapper. In my era, Corey would be a superstar already. But the era we live in, you almost gotta dumb it down somewhat, and he just never was willing to dumb it down to the point where people could all the way get it.
Arguing that his son is too smart, which to me just sounds like massive cope. The crazy part is though, like we're about to see next, Corey Gunz is by no means the only one-feature wonder from Young Money. If you grew up listening to Lil Wayne and his Young Money crew, then you definitely remember Gudda Gudda. As one of the very first names to sign under Lil Wayne's label, Gudda Gudda was a childhood friend, and the two grew up together in New Orleans. And, in fact, Wayne actually wrote Gudda's first ever rap as a teenager.
I'm Wayne, and I have nothing to do with Young Money, not a thing. And I'm just like, hold on, I'll let everybody introduce themselves because they got voices. Hold on. Yeah.
It's your boy 2G Gutter, you already know what it is, man. Get at your boy.
Bang, bang, Gutter, what you gotta say? Twins. This is my twin brother. In case the world didn't know, me and Gutter, that's actually my twin brother. You know, and he kind of grew up in New Orleans, and I grew up in New York.
Squeezed up next to Nicki Minaj, who called him her twin. It was this different moment though, back in 2009, squeezed in between verses by Young Money's old roster of soon-to-be stars, including Nicki, Drake, Tyga, and of course label boss Lil Wayne, when Gudda Gudda's breakout hit arrived, Bedrock, Young Money's most successful single. But while everyone spits memorable bars throughout, it is Gudda Gudda though who unexpectedly steals the show. Right here on the second verse, as he delivers this iconic bar at the end, which instantly became a viral meme.
And I got a grocery bag. Grocery bag. Grocery bag.
While some fans joked that this grocery bag line was so bad it ruined his career, and others argued it was actually fire, the one statement that all of us who've ever heard the song can agree on though, Gudda Gudda's verse on Bedrock was unforgettable. However, where his career went next definitely is.
I like the way you walking, make you walking my way. I'm that red bull, let's fly away.
Aside from this viral clip here of Gudda getting his chain snatched at a show, in terms of work with Lil Wayne, the two have put out a few more songs, with Gunwalk about the only close comparison. Yet, despite promising to fans that Gudda's debut album was about to drop and was set to feature stars including Drake and Busta Rhymes, obviously this turned out to be a lie. That was the biggest song I've ever been on in my life. Gudda told Vice about his legendary verse on Bedrock, "I made the most money I've ever made from that song. That can't and that don't define me at the end of the day. How can you define me from one verse?" Especially when we compare his recent output to Corey Gunz, Gudda Gudda is releasing far less music anymore at age 42. But with that being said, at least he has had the chance.
Lollipop, my first diamond record, certified. 10 million singles sold, not streams. 10 million singles sold. Lollipop, it's all yours, man. Rest in peace, Static Major.
To a lot of younger fans watching, Static Major is simply remembered as the voice behind Lil Wayne's diamond-certified hit, Lollipop. But what you may not know is the wild story that lies beneath. Hailing from Kentucky, Static Major had been finding success mostly working behind the scenes in production for his early career, eventually becoming the lead songwriter for R&B star Aaliyah. Yet, following years of crafting hit lyrics for others, it was finally in the year of 2008 when Static got his chance to shine as a vocalist. However, unfortunately, he never lived to see the response.
Louisville R&B star Stephen Garrett was laid to rest today. Known in the music industry as Static, Garrett died Monday from complications from a medical procedure. He was only 33 years old.
Only 16 days prior to Lil Wayne's Lollipop release, in which he had called on him to write and perform the classic chorus and bridge, news broke that Static Major had tragically passed away during a failed medical procedure. And despite being diagnosed with a rare neuromuscular disease, controversy instantly sparked surrounding Static's true cause of death. What? A failed medical procedure? Static's brother wrote in a blog post after the incident. Many people were enraged at the hospital when he passed away. His death and illness are not related. His death was attributed only to the malice of the hospital. Static Major's family continued to argue that the hospital was instead to blame for malpractice. But in the meantime, released in his honor then as the lead single for the Carter 3, this Diamond Smash Lollipop would not only go down as Lil Wayne's first Billboard #1 hit of his career, but, as we can see here, also includes this tribute to Static at the end of the music video. Robbed of a chance to prove himself otherwise, Static Major will forever be most remembered for his work on Lollipop. Again, he never had a choice. That is, however, unlike another one-feature wonder who came and went, Fivio Foreign. Packed full with over 30 guest features on Kanye West's 2021 album Donda, the verse which steals the show for most memorable, though, came from the least expected place. As their first ever collaboration, Kanye would call up Brooklyn drill rapper Fivio Foreign to fly down to Atlanta and spit a feature in his makeshift studio, inside of the locker room at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And as you'd expect, as he describes, in typical Kanye fashion, the Donda recording process was extremely chaotic.
Ye was actually recording. The listening party is going on, right? It's about to happen. Ye is still mixing, recording, adding ad-libs till the moment of him coming out the door.
It's like 8 hours left of this shit. No chuckling and nothing, no kind of way. All right, play Off the Grid.
But again, with over 30 other features, Fivio Foreign knew that he needed to bring his absolute best. Also realizing that a feature on a Kanye West album was easily going to be the biggest look of his career. With that being said, Fivio definitely took full advantage.
Hold on, Fivio, hold on. Hold on. How the hell Kanye let Fivio have the hardest verse on the album? That's tough. This Fivio smell. This Fivio, hold on. This ran that hoe.
Off the Grid is the perfect example of when a rapper catches lightning in a bottle and absolutely takes over, entering a flow state like never before. And although Kanye had just sent him 8 bars to rap over at first, thanks to Ye's encouragement and after seeing him locked in this crazy zone, Fivio Foreign then went on to crank out the best 2-minute long verse of his entire life.
Right, so as we to the other room, it's only like 8 bars. So I spit the 8 bars, right? Cool, y'all finished, he come listen to it, he like, you know what? Keep going longer. Stretch it out, make it longer. Did it again. Think I put like 8 more bars on it. He like, keep going.
That's why it was so long. He kept telling me keep going. Tell me keep going like 3 times. Like, I'm like, yo, I got more. He like, yo, keep going.
Each time you think that his verse is over, he just goes right back in. However, following the release of Donda in 2021 and all of this newfound momentum, what happened to Fivio Foreign next? While you could argue he's appeared on a couple other songs too, including Headshot with Polo G, as well as a few popular drill tracks, as we quickly saw though from Fivio Foreign's debut album, his audience is much smaller than even he had thought, disappearing just as fast as it arrived, despite its big name feature list, including Quavo, Kanye, Lil Yachty, and A$AP Rocky to name a few. But besides never able to make much out of his off-the-grid hype, in my opinion though, Fivio Foreign's worst move of all is how he's been acting this past year on the internet. Going out's absolutely sad, in an attempt to scrape any clout that he still can.
I know I'm cussing that, ain't invite me to come rap and that shit hurt me, What type of time is he on? I gave the city hits, how they ain't hit me for that mafia throwing you bugging.
Grown-ass man really clout chasing from streamers now, this crazy, the top comment jokes. Now resorting to making songs about Kai Cenat and crying over how Fivio didn't get invited to his recent Mafia-thon event. Rather than making any noise on the actual music side of things, we also can't forget this infamous stream too, with Fivio Foreign and Lil TJ, where, if you can remember, both of these rappers went on to receive viral backlash after the way that they acted on stream, disrespecting popular Twitch streamer Plackboy Max right on camera in front of his audience.
Yo, this a B&B, you can't smoke in here, this shit don't go off. Yeah, I appreciate you though. Yo, bro, yo, you can't smoke in here, this shit gonna go off, like please.
Let Uncle.
It's in the back.
Even though he didn't say it, I'm gonna tell you what that means verbally. Pause. Him blowing that out meant, your rules, I'm gonna smoke this shit anyway. And matter of fact, suck my dick. Like, that's what that meant! I don't care! That's what that meant!
As it stands, Fivio Foreign's biggest claim to fame remains his feature on Off the Grid, no doubt at the peak of his music career, before he went off the grid forever. However, while I suppose Fivio has still made some noise, just not for any good reasons, the same can't be said though about Ian Dior, an artist whose entire legacy pretty much begins and ends with one feature verse. If there's anyone who represents how fast the internet can build you up and then forget about you even faster, this artist is Ian Dior. Because all thanks to his feature on Mood, and some huge help from going viral on TikTok, Ian Dior exploded to #1 in the world basically overnight.
We knew the song was fire. Like, we made it. It's fire. We weren't thinking like, oh, this is gonna go #1. Like, this is gonna be the record of the year. We weren't thinking that.
Teaming up with his close friend 24kGoldn, who by this point is a one-hit wonder of his own, and who I've already made an entire video on if you want to watch after. But seeing as he is technically the featured artist on Mood, Ian Dior definitely falls into this criteria. And while he did have some early success on SoundCloud, the genre-bending TikTok smash Mood was a different level, totally dominating the entirety of the COVID lockdown. Even Facebook moms were singing his lyrics. However, while I don't think that anyone expected Ian Dior to be able to replicate quite the record-breaking success of Mood, just 2 projects later he was missing the charts completely. And aside from his small core fanbase, today mainstream fans only remember the name Ian Dior from his feature on Mood. Now, the great part is though for Ian, depending on how you manage your money, with a #1 hit record that big, you can honestly be set for life financially. Well, that is of course, unless you don't get paid for your work, such as Casey Hill, who, according to her side of the story, never got paid by multi-millionaire Travis Scott.
It has been 10 years since that song, and I quite literally wake up every day and look outside how my sprouts have grown and bake scones. So I think I'm pretty far away from that at this point. Does he owe me a vocal swap? Sure. That will never happen. And I don't really want it to.
This right here is Casey Hill, and if that name sounds familiar, that's because she's the female feature on 90210 next to Travis Scott. But yet, despite providing vocals on the chorus for one of the best hits off of his debut album, Rodeo, as her story goes, Casey and Travis had agreed on doing a feature swap instead of cash payment. Meaning that, after Casey sang on 90210, Travis would in turn now owe her a feature verse on one of her songs. But obviously that has still never happened. It's well known that Travis Scott's reputation of being a good human, in anything other than music, is pretty terrible.
Travis Scott is the worst person I worked with in my entire career in music. I'm Travis Scott's former manager. I'm the one who had a seizure, and I'm the one that he left for dead in a basement in Los Angeles.
Having shown us multiple times his disrespect and complete disregard for others, it appears Casey Hill is another case. And despite her attempts to shut them down, Travis Scott's fans are some of the most persistent on the internet. So, considering, again, how fire of a collab that 90210 was, each time that Casey has released new music since 2015, and tried to promote it with content on her social media, it always ends the same way. Essentially for 10 years now, I have had to mute so many words on my TikTok and Instagram, Casey Hill explained to The Fader, but people still find ways to contact me. If I don't mute these words, almost all my comments will be 90210 or Travis Scott girl. The issue with it is then, these platforms only push my videos to Travis Scott fans. So I just didn't know how to be like, guys, this man ghosted me years ago. His second feature is not gonna happen.
This is just the last time I'll ever address any of this. Wanted to clarify, I've always been really grateful to be a part of that song. I think it's an awesome song. And it was just a really kooky, crazy time in my life. I was really young and thrown into the deep end. I don't know, we're in a time in the world where trolling is just such a thing. And it's really unfortunate because it's real people that you're talking to on the internet. And I think there's enough distance with the internet that people forget that. They find enjoyment out of get enjoyment out of trolling people, especially women. And yeah, I'm just not into it, honestly.
Despite never getting that feature swap from Travis, Casey has since revealed though that she does, quote, own a small portion of publishing for 90210, and shared that she's been able to sustain herself without big commercial singles in the years since. However, that's not to say she stopped making music, with actually a new, fresh 5-track EP back in August, but at least in terms of popularity and streaming numbers, nothing will compare to collaborating with Travis Scott. All of these examples we've covered so far really just show how wild a feature verse can actually be. A couple bars can either launch your career to new heights, or trap you in one moment forever. But while names such as Ian Dior and Casey Hill have struggled to ever step out of that shadow of their one big feature, this next example might honestly be the most extreme. Because unlike them, this guy wasn't even trying to be a star, and yet, somehow, still ended up on the chorus for one of the biggest rap hits of the 2010s. Imagine being 50 years old and simply working one day at your day job as a software testing engineer, but then, a few weeks later, your name is literally #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Well, that's what happened to Wands. When Macklemore and Ryan Lewis set out to write their global hit, Thrift Shop, they wanted a singer for the hook who sounded like Nate Dogg. And thus, after a mutual friend connected them, Seattle native Wanz then found himself performing that famous hook we all know on the chart-topping hit, Thrift Shop.
You want a hook to be memorable, you know? I'm gonna pop some tags. Everybody knows that part, right?
I walked away from a very good paying job last October and have been living the dream of a lifetime ever since.
Introducing the world to Wanz and his deep vocals, after then enjoying a few years on the road touring with Macklemore. Following their run, Wanz then went back to his old job a couple years later, only with, now, both a diamond record and a Grammy tucked under his belt. But for our final one feature wonder in this video though, what if I told you that fans still have no idea who this artist actually is? Featured on one of the most streamed songs of MF Doom's career is someone who goes by the name Mr. Fantastic. However, as of 2025, Mr. Fantastic's real identity has never been revealed, with also one more mysterious appearance on Doom's track Antimatter. At least according to how the popular lore goes, this guy Mr. Fantastic was said to be an old childhood friend of MF Doom's. Whether you want to believe that is up to you. Yet, despite laying a great verse and working alongside MF Doom, the strange part is, Mr. Fantastic never even attempted to launch a solo career. No albums, singles, interviews, nothing. Just complete silence. At the end of the day, not every artist is built to be a superstar, nor, as we just learned, do all of them want to. However, even if they didn't pan out to have the careers which fans expected, by delivering that one legendary feature, they have still etched their name into hip-hop history forever. Let me know down in the comments any rappers I missed, and make sure to subscribe if you want a part 2. And I also think you'll like this other video on screen.